CPABC How-To Series, Work Your Passion with CPA, posted today, September 15th, 2022. Thank you for spending 1 hour of your day with us. While we are meeting in this virtual space, I would like to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge the importance of the land which we each call home, wherever that may be. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, on whose traditional territory the physical CPABC office is located. We do this land acknowledgement to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples. Please join me in a moment of reflection. Thank you for reflecting with me. Some housekeeping items. So while this presentation is in progress, audiences are entered in mute. And this webinar is being recorded, but it will not be recorded during our networking breakout room portion. While the networking breakout room portion is active, audiences will then have access to unmute themselves to ask questions directly to our panelists. And at that time of the event, you're also encouraged to turn your video on. In our time together, we're going to dive right in and start with meeting our panelists and entering our moderated questions. After we're done the moderated questions, I will be providing further instruction on what happens during the networking breakout room portion. Then, excuse me, we're going to wrap up the event at 1 o'clock and send you on the rest of your day. So who are our panelists? For my panelists, when you see your name float up on the screen, please do turn your video on if you have not done it already and introduce yourself to our audience. Thanks very much. Our first panelist we meet is
Arif Ahmed, Arif Ahmed, live in Gibson's CPA CMA, president of Super Value.
Welcome, Arif. Our next CPA panelist is
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Nguyen. I'm a CPA, and currently I'm working at BCIT as a capital accounting manager.
Welcome, Tony. And our third CPA panelist or panelist on the CPA session is.
Hi, my name is Ernesto Lopez. I'm originally from Venezuela and moved to Canada about 6 years ago. I'm a CPA candidate who just wrote CPA exam last week. And I work as an accountant for Steamworks Brewing in the restaurant division.
Welcome, Ernesto, and congratulations on completing writing the common final exam. So let's get right to it. Our first question is, where did you go to school and what did you study? Let's ask Arif to kick us off on this question.
Well, depending on how far back you want to go, went to elementary school in Richmond, but I'll skip all that part. Did my university at Simon Fraser, actually at the downtown campus, in an executive program there, and then went directly into my CMA at the time.
Thanks, Arif. And let's hear from Tony, please.
I actually went to BCIT, and I got my Bachelor of Accounting in 2017. And after that, I went straight to the CPA program and got my designation in 2020.
Congratulations, Tony. And same question to Ernesto, please.
So I obtained a bachelor's degree in Venezuela. And when I moved into Canada, first I took an executive diploma in hotel management while I transitioned all my documents, my accounting documents, into the CPA Western School of Business, where I did both a portion of the prep program and the whole PEP program.
Thank you, Ernesto, and thank you to our panelists for this first question. Next question we have is, what is your company and what do they do? Let's start with Tony, please.
As you know, BCIT is one of the largest post-secondary institute in BC. We offer a lot of practical career credentials, from diplomas to bachelor and master degrees even. We also launched our new micro credential for those who want just a year of school. Our school cover all the major sections, for example, business, computing, IT, engineer, yeah, you name it.
Thank you, Tony. I have a couple of cousins who went to BCIT as well. It's a very good school that definitely prepares you for work ready. Same question, I will direct this to Ernesto.
So the Steamworks group of companies is basically separated into two divisions. One division is the brewery, and the other one is the restaurants. For the restaurant division is basically separated into 3 restaurants, starting with Steamworks Flagship, which is in Gastown, and 2 Rogue Kitchen and Wet Bar, which one's located in Gastown as well, and the other one on West Broadway. And we also recently added 2 food trucks into our fleet. And the newest member of the family is a franchisee, which is the Steamworks that recently opened in Main Street. In the restaurant division, we take pride in our quality of food and beverage, unique atmospheres, and friendly and responsive service. Whereas in the brewery division, the manufacturer division, we create all the beers that some of the restaurants sell, and it's sold also in retail. This brewery opened when the craft beer market was exploding in BC, so we kind of like rode that wave and made it the successful business it is today. But on top of the canning of beers, we also do co-packing for other small players that want to enter the market but don't have the facilities. And that division also has a small tap room that opened in 2013 for people in the neighborhood of Burnaby, which is where the brewery is located.
Thank you, Ernesto. I actually have a quick little follow-up question for that. Steamworks also makes a lot of seasonal beers and ales as well, yes?
Yeah, that's correct. We also do some partnerships with other wineries and other breweries to get some collaborations in unique flavors.
I look forward to purchasing some pumpkin spice or pumpkin inspired ales from Steamworks. So hopefully that'll be coming. Okay.
I saw them in their Instagram, so it's brewing.
Thank you, Ernesto. And Arif, what is your company and what do they do?
We are grocery stores, full stop. But if you want the longer answer is I'm the owner of a couple grocery stores. We're in smaller communities, one in Gibsons, one in Agassiz, which is just outside of Harrison. Both communities, and this is by my design, we target communities of between 3,000 and 6,000 people that don't have too many grocery stores or much of a community center. So my stores tend to play big roles in the communities that they're in because they are a central point in a bit of a community gathering place of not just employment and food, which is the fun thing, but also for just community events and the place of gathering and a place for families to hang out. And, you know, if you guys have ever been to small communities, it's not like we have gigantic malls and, you know, amusement parks and, you know, 1,000 coffee shops to hang out at. So everyone just hangs out at the grocery store. So my goal is to make it a good experience for the community.
Thank you, Arif. I also grew up in a small community, and I do remember all the community events being hosted in the very large parking lot of our grocery store. So it's something I remember too today. Thank you. Our next question is, tell us a bit about your career journey from where you started to where you presently work today. Let's start with Arif, please.
Sure. Actually, can I defer just for a quick second? I'm just going to switch a Wi-Fi spot. So just give me a second.
Absolutely. Let's start with Tony. And Tony, I will unmute you, or I will ask my colleague Louisa to unmute you.
Yeah, thank you. So I spent majority of my career in private and government sector. One of my first accounting job after I got my bachelor, and where I got my experience for CPA from was a construction equipment dealership in Surrey. I spent around 4 years there, and I got my CPA, and then I decided to pursue my career in government sector. So I applied and got a job at Ministry of Family and Children in Surrey. And then after that, I quickly moved to BCIT just last year, and I still working at BCIT.
Thank you, Tony. And last, let's hear from Arif.
So I've actually spent my entire life in grocery stores. Literally from my first job was at 16 years old. I was the meat cleanup kid, as we affectionately refer to it in the industry, where I'd, you know, after the long day where the butchers have been slaughtering animals all day, I'd be the guy in gumboots and tearing apart the wax boxes and throwing them into the garbage and cleaning all that up. And from that, I worked in a warehouse, which was a family business. We did food importing and distribution. It was part of the Choices groups of companies at the time, and worked my way up through that until 2018. Worked my way into not just building and growing that operation within the Choices groups of companies, but then I also concurrently ended up doing my BA and CMA at the time, and took over as CFO for Choices. And then as part of that role, we completed a successful divestiture to the Pattison Group in 2016, 2017 that I was a part of. And from that, realized that all I knew was accounting and grocery stores. So I decided to buy of myself, my own, on the Sunshine Coast. And this is what kind of brought me here from an employee into an entrepreneur and business owner.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ara. A lot of CPAs are actually entrepreneurs. So I'm not surprised that you also wear that entrepreneurial hat as well. Our next question is, how did you get your job with your current place of employment, and what exactly do you do there? I'm going to ask Ernesto to kick us off with this question.
Absolutely. So before I was at Steamworks, I used to work for a tour operator in town. And even though the work was very exciting, it was heavily seasonal. So I would find myself with times of the year where I would have way too much work, and times of the year where I would have very little to no work. So that wasn't a good fit for me. And I decided to venture into a different business. Luckily, because my job was still secure, I didn't have a big of a rush to get into a new job. So I kind of skimmed through LinkedIn here and there until I found what I consider was perfect fit for me, which was Steamworks. They were hiring at the moment. So I did a couple of interviews with them. They went really well. I clicked perfectly with the people that I shared time with when I was doing the interviews. So they offered me the role about 3 years ago. So with them, I do full cycle accounting for all the restaurants and the food trucks. The team has a small junior accountant and a payroll accountant besides me. And there's also the director of finance, which is chair of both the restaurant and the brewery division. And part of my role is on top of the full cycle of accounting is to prepare financial statements and realize a number of variation analysis, which then I have to present into the front of the house management team in order to help them with their decision making in the restaurant.
Definitely sounds like very busy days for you, Ernesto, because it definitely sounds like Steamworks is brewing. So the finance team probably has a lot to do during these busy days, but a lot of opportunity to learn and apply additional skills. That's really exciting to hear. Next to answer this question, let's go to Arif.
Sure. So I found this job, if you want to call it a job, after about a 22-year job interview. So back in 1999, I'm doing the old geezer thing right now, back in my day. So my first ever boss was a gentleman who was a real hard driver, real stick your nose in it to make things happen, and I hated the guy's guts. The happiest thing that ever happened at that time was when he quit and went on to buy a grocery store on the Sunshine Coast. Fast forward by, like I said, 20 years, we became friends over those years, and he was a client of mine. I would do sales calls into him, and he was looking at retiring and getting out of the business. And after 22 years of working for him, then working together as a client and customer, we came to the agreement for me to purchase the store from him. So, because we were in touch, he kept track of my career progress in my professional career, and was also really aware of what my schooling piece was. So he actually targeted me based on my skill set and my, not just experience within the food industry, but also through my experience as a CMA CPA, to realize that I would probably be a good candidate to take over this legacy business. This is a grocery store that's been in the market for the last 70 years. So, it's, we're not picking a new pope, but it was very important as to who he picked to carry on the legacy of the brand name in the community. So it was a long job interview process for me, but that's how I got to where I am.
It really shows, how important relationships are. And it's really interesting how even though you two may not have gotten along on a personality, maybe a personal level, that this person had a lot of respect for you and for your skills. So that's a really interesting story to hear.
Well, if anybody wants to meet me at Steamworks with Ernesto afterwards, I can show you the rest of this.
Be a fly on the wall, but be a fly in the room. Let's hear from Tony, please.
As you know, I'm currently working as a manager of capital accounting at BCIT. I actually applied and got the position through LinkedIn because I have worked in the construction equipment earlier in my career. So it really helped me with getting this position at BCIT. One interesting thing about government job is they tend to give you an assessment, like a test to do before, so you have to test all the candidates, and then whoever have highest score will likely to get the position. So actually, the CPA really prepared me for that, because my job, the test that I took was basically a case that I was really familiar with from CPA study. And regarding what I'm doing right now, so I manage all the capital projects and funding in all the campus at BCIT. we have a lot of existing and new assets, as you can imagine, because BCIT is growing. So we have all the new building coming up. You may have seen it on the news that the most recent one is a health science building that is $88 million. It just opened this September, and it's for the School of Health. So yeah, and also I prepare a lot of internal and external reporting because we receive all the funding from provincial, private, or federal.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, I've driven past the BCIT campus and I see there's a lot of construction going up.
Yes.
And what I really like about BCIT is their programs. A lot of them are academic, a lot of them are trades related. So it really is well-rounded programs that are suitable and attractive to all individuals. So yeah, great to see the growth that BCIT is experiencing right now. Thank you. Our next question is, did you choose an accounting career or did it choose you? Let's have Ara, please.
Yeah, I was, thinking about this one. It's actually a really interesting question because I had an entire career that didn't involve accounting for many years, from working in a warehouse to selling groceries to running an operational side of the business. And then kind of as I further and further got into my career, it was actually I realized that accounting just sort of overlaid onto exactly what I was doing. And so I don't think I chose it or it chose me. I think we just kind of one day met in the middle of the road and realized that, we would go well together.
It sounds like a love connection to me.
It was, you could call it that. And, it's, after a while of, when I started telling friends and family that I was going into this field, everybody kind of said, yeah, that makes sense. Just looking at you and kind of seeing what you do and appreciate. And I was really fortunate to have, my father as not just a mentor, but he's a CGA as well. So, he kind of did the refugee parent thing to me and said, you should go into accounting, son. And, again, you don't listen to your parents and ever until it's too late and you realize they were right the entire time. And then, as soon as I got in there, came across a couple instructors who, I really connected with and saw that, saw their passion for the field and saw their passion for, it's not just working in accounting by, sitting down, staring at numbers and, clocking out at the end of the day, that it was a whole breadth of the industry and a whole breadth of jobs and responsibilities. And I think that's when I realized and understood that, accounting it's not just the stereotypes, it's so much more than that. And when I looked at my own career, I realized that accounting makes a lot of sense in that career as well.
Thank you, Ara. Let's hear from Tony, please.
So yeah, my story is similar to Arif. I don't think it chose me or I choose accounting. So I came to Canada as an international student. Actually, I didn't know what I was gonna do or what I'm gonna study. But back then, my sister was she's an accountant as well. So she told me, hey, why don't you take some accounting courses and see if you like it. So I did, I took some courses and I actually really like it. And it's stuck with me ever since.
Thank you, Tony. And let's hear from Ernesto, please.
For me, I definitely didn't choose it at the beginning. When I started in university, I was doing a degree in electrical engineer. And I lasted 2 years on that path until I realized that was not my calling. I understood that a career I wanted was to be related with numbers. But at that point, I decided, it's not numbers in the sense of like heavy calculus. It's money, it's more related to money than what I want to do. So after those 2 years, I decided to switch universities and careers altogether. And I got accepted into a different university where the first 2 years of the path I was taking was a was called basic. And after those 2 years, then you were supposed to branch out into some sort of specialty, which could be either accounting, business administration, or economics. So I decided, like, you know what, these 3 careers relate to what I want. You know, I want my numbers, I want it related with money. Which one would it be? I don't know yet, but we'll see along the way. But when I started my first semester there, and I had courses on accounting 101, to me that really, like, it clicked to me very fast. It was some courses that for me it became very easy. As for some reason, I was able to understand it and apply it very easily. So it became second nature very fast. And within that first semester, I already knew which one was the path I was going to take. And I've been really happy with it since.
That's so great to hear. Thank you, Ernesto. Our next question is, so your employment is accounting in your career. So where did the foodie aspect come into play into your career or alongside it? I'm going to ask Tony to kick us off on this question.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Vietnam, where you can buy street food everywhere you go. In the morning, you could go to the street vendor and get a sandwich, and after that, you go to school. And also, my mom was a cook. She taught cooking. She's retired now. But I would say she's a really big influence for me being a foodie today. So that food culture basically is a part of me. Regarding how I started, I love exploring new eateries around the city, and I would take a quick photo so I can look back and see what I was eating. So one day I just asked myself why maybe I should share that with other people. So yeah, that's how I started, and I started my Instagram page in 2017.
Thank you, Tony. I've seen your blog, and you eat a lot of delicious food. So I'd like your restaurant. I'd like your restaurant list so I can also eat there too.
Yeah, let me know.
Next, let's please hear from Ernesto.
So when I started my career in accounting, it has always been focused in hospitality. So I've worked for hotels, I've worked for a tour operator, and now I'm working in Steamworks. The foodie aspect of it actually came around when I started at Steamworks, when I was actually involved into the decision making of a lot of things that were happening in the restaurant. This is actually the first job in accounting that I had that sort of responsibility, where you would actually help in the decision making. And so getting involved within not just, I mean, the aspect of food, what we all like it is because it looks good, it tastes good, it's fantastic. But when you mix it with accounting, then you get a little extra added into it. Is like, oh, we got to analyze, well, what our costs are, how can we price it? Is it going to be enticing enough for people and whatnot? So thanks to my career and the job I have at the moment, then I'm able to get a mix of both worlds and not only get the chance to eat very delicious food every day, but I also get to play in the background and help the chef of the restaurants and the general managers to make decisions in order to make the business sustainable in the long term.
Thank you, Ernesto. And let's hear from Arif, please.
Sure. So, I guess the simple answer is that like everybody loves food, so why wouldn't you want to be around it at all times? Food makes everybody happy. It's one of the funny things when I look at my grocery store, and produce is kind of like the funnest department to work at because everyone's in a good mood and everyone's walking around, trying to see what seasonal berry is there, or if there's a something exotic that's just coming off the docks, and it makes people happy. So why wouldn't you want to work around an industry that makes people really happy? In my previous life, and still a little bit now, when I was focusing more on the food import and distribution side, one of my tasks, and it makes it, I make it sound like such a chore, but it was flying around the world looking for different foods to import into Canada. So, I would fly into, go look for coconut products in, Vietnam and Thailand, in the Philippines, or, I'd be in South Africa looking for spices, and then be in Italy looking for like lemon juice and pasta. And it's like, and I'm an accountant, so why wouldn't that be fun and exciting? And why would I not want to take that journey all around the world and be surrounded by delicious food? So I wouldn't call myself a foodie, but being a foodie is my career as much as it is being an accountant and an entrepreneur and business operator.
Thank you, Era. Food is definitely a connector amongst all communities. I know anytime I've traveled and I don't speak the language, I seem to connect with locals through food. So yeah, food is definitely a big connector in that aspect. So our next question is having a CPA career and your passion for food and community two different things, or do you see them as being connected? Let's hear from Arth. Thank you.
Sure. As cliche as it sounds, it's that whole thing about, if you enjoy what you're doing, does it really work? And so, that's how I really feel about, like, I'm really lucky in my life, and I always have been, around my jobs and my career, and the fact that I've been able to use my CPA in everything that I do. I was having this conversation with my wife about it yesterday, that it's really funny that, I had this whole career before I was a CPA, and then I became a CPA, and then now even though it hasn't really changed who I am, it becomes the first thing that usually gets mentioned in my bio. And so, it's the passion really lies in the overlap between the two. They're 100% connected for me personally. I can't, make a generalization as to, what the correct answer should be for everybody. But for myself, they're really one and the same, and they're so interconnected, because I use accounting in everything that I do, whether it be looking at shipping and logistics lines, looking at employee related issues and problems, looking at staffing, scheduling, sales, whatever it is that you name it. And then food really overlaps with all of that, because at the end of the day, it's, selling the food that is, putting food on my table.
Thank you, Ara. And let's hear from our next CPA panelist, Tony. Same question.
Yes, definitely. Beside all the food I ate when I was stressing out because of CPA exam, just kidding. But yes, I do think they are interconnected. CPA actually teach you more than just technical accounting. For example, they teach you how to communicate professionally, prioritize things between your work and personal life, and give back to the community. For example, I had an awesome opportunity to work with some restaurant on their opening. So I was able to give some advice based on my CPA knowledge, how to run a successful marketing campaign, and then which part of the business you should focus on, and something like that. Yeah, so I do think it's connected.
Thank you, Tony. And let's hear from our third panelist, who is on that CPA designation path, Ernesto.
Thank you. Yeah, so they're definitely connected, and I'm going to tell you why. Last Friday, when we finished CP, I went to the restaurant to celebrate, and there was 4 different accounting firms within Steamworks and Rogue celebrating as well. Yeah, so food basically unite us as community. Is the place that we go either for just food or for some drinks when we go to celebrate, when we have a special occasion. It is a place where we come together and share stories. So having a career in a restaurant where you can actually help shape the decisions that the business takes in order to make it successful, and always trying to have as many people visiting as possible, it definitely melts a little bit within my career and the food and community. And I really enjoy doing that. You know, when you leave work and you just walk by the restaurant and you see this busy, thriving, people are very happy. It's a very good feeling.
I'm sure it definitely feels like family, right? Having those close-knit communities. Thank you, Ernesto. So for this question, so for those of us who are starting on the CPA program, or perhaps if we're starting our own job search, what advice do you have for us on developing a long-lasting, successful career and also one that fills our passions? Let's hear from Arif, please.
Sure. So, I mean, one of the things that everyone should recognize is that you're going to find a need for accounting in whatever career is out there and whatever business is actually out there. So don't be stuck in the mindset of I need to work in one place or I need to do one thing, because accounting really overlays in every single job and utility that's out there. You know, I always say that accounting is one of those professions that you could walk into any meeting in any office or any company and have being able to make a meaningful impact or contribution to that meeting because of what your background is. Try everything, work everywhere, and do everything. I've done everything from, you know, sales and marketing to, you know, at one point in time being a certified forklift operator. And it all just, you know, being able to try and experience a wide breadth of, I wouldn't call them careers, but experiences. You never know where you're going to find that passion or stumble into it, but you're not going to find it unless you really put as much on your plate to try.
Thank you, Ara. And let's hear from Tony, please.
Yeah, so my advice for those who consider CPA program is just do it and don't give up. You will struggle a little bit. There will be time that you're asking yourself why you're doing this, but I think at the end it will be worth it. When you finish the program and have some accounting experience under your belt, you will have more opportunities to explore what career path you want to go. For example, myself, like I never thought that I will go to capital accounting, but since then I really enjoy it so far. Also, another advice is to have a mentor earlier in your career, so they can guide you through the process, give you some advice on your job search. When you have a strong foundation and supportive mentor behind you, it's easier to achieve the goal that whether it's personal or professional.
Thank you, Tony. And let's hear from Ernesto, please.
Yeah, for me, one of the most important things is to always have a plan. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to go according to it, but at least if you know where you want to go or what your finish line looks like, then you can always make decisions along the way in order to, you know, steer back into that path and ultimately achieve that goal that you want. The second thing that's very important for me is networking. Throughout your career, you will meet countless amount of people, and you never know which one will actually present you with an opportunity in the future. I've been approached by old coworkers and be like, hey, listen, I'm working in this company right now. There's an opening. We work together in Excel company, and I feel like you'd actually be very good at it. Why don't you give me your resume? I'll put it in. I'll put a good word for you. So that kind of like helps you skip a lot of the hiring process and get into the most important part, which is the interview. And the interview is all about yourself and how you sell yourself. But getting someone that opens that door for you is actually very, very important. And the last thing, in order to work your passion, you gotta consider in accounting, like Arif was saying, every company in every industry needs an accountant. So there is an endless number of opportunities for us to go into different industries and do different roles. So ideally is you want to identify what is your passion, what is the thing that you like to do, and then try to see which companies relate to that passion and see how can you contribute to that business and how can that business help you give you that sense of fulfillment.
Thank you, Ernesto. This is really valuable advice, and also through living and working their own experience for our panelists to share this insight with all of us here. Now, this is one last moderated question to the panelists, and I'd like to ask you to reply within 2 minutes. Last question is, looking back from your university days to today as a working professional, are you where you imagined where you would be in your career in education? Yes or no? And why? Let's start with Ernesto, please.
Yeah, so education-wise, yes, I am where I want to be, which is just finish my CPA, waiting for results. Knock on wood, hopefully they'll be all positive when it comes around in the end of November. Career-wise, I always imagined when I started in accounting, I was at an accounting firm, and I always thought that my calling was forensic accounting. I'm definitely not doing that right now. I don't have plans to go into that path anymore. But you know, life changes and you adapt to new realities. And right now I'm within the hospitality industry and I really enjoy that.
Thank you, Ernesto. Let's hear from Arif, please.
Hi, so if you were to ask me 10 years ago what I would be doing, it definitely was not what I'd be doing today. I think I'm on a very different path than what I thought I'd be doing back in my university days, but I'm so much further ahead. You know, from where I was, where I imagined my career going, it definitely wouldn't be moving to a small town in, you know, off the Sunshine Coast. That definitely was not in the plans back then. You know, being a retail worker and sitting on, you know, 2 years ago, you know, trying to break up fights over toilet paper as an accountant, not something that I ever thought I would be doing, but man, it's in a weird way, it's very satisfying, very fulfilling, and you know, something I'm you know, passionate and happy about doing, because it's been an interesting journey to get here, and you know, I've enjoyed every step of it along the way.
Thank you, Arif. And last, let's hear from Tony.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. So back then when I was a student, I wanted to finish CPA and work for a large organization, become a manager before I turned 30. I think I achieved my goal. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you to our panelists, Arif, Tony, and Ernesto, for sharing and engaging with us in the moderated panel discussion. Now we will enter our networking breakout room. So we have a more intimate group with us today. So we're all going to be staying in this main hall, and I will stop sharing my screen so that I can see everyone's beautiful faces. For our audience members, you are welcome to turn your video on to engage in discussion. Give a formal closing and thank you to all audience members who attended and participated in this event. I'd like to say a huge thank you to our panelists, Arif Ahmed, Tony Hoon, Ernesto, and our candidate panelist, Ernesto Lopez. And big thank you to our audience members. We host these types of events for you. And a very quick sneak peek on upcoming events we have. We are hosting our network series in-person event. Welcome back, Fireside Chats. This, we will learn everything about sustainability. We have CPA panelists who work in that field, who will have these intimate fireside chats with you. If you are curious and want to know how to pursue an accounting career in sustainability, this is an event you won't want to miss. And our next event for our how-to series in this series is called How to Start a Coffee Chat. So we heard from panelists today that networking is very important throughout your duration in pursuing your own career path. This one as well is a virtual event. We will talk about what is a coffee chat, how to start a coffee chat online and in person. For now, for everyone who logged into the event, thank you for spending 1 hour of your day with us, wherever you are in BC and around the world. I wish you safe, I wish you healthy, and I hope to see you at our next CPABC event. Thank you and bye. Have a great day.